So 4.1 day 1 trig functions. I have two right triangles here. Please draw those. They don't have to be giant, but we have to have them big enough where I can write stuff on the inside. So trig functions are all about right triangles, and they're just fractions. They're ratios. Ratios are fractions, and sometimes they're expressed as a decimal, but they're always in relation to an angle. And sometimes the angle doesn't matter, so we're going to use general symbols to represent which angle we're talking about. So this is like a variable for an angle. It's called theta. This is like x is to a number as theta is to an angle. We also use this symbol. It's called alpha, and it's part the letter A and part C. Let me show you. So it's the first part of an A, and then instead of drawing that leg straight down, it's kind of like a curved shape right here. That's alpha. That's another variable we use. And then we also use something called beta, and it looks like the letter B, but it has a long tail. I kind of exaggerated that tail. It's not that long, but it has a long tail. So with this first triangle, I'm going to identify the opposite side and the adjacent side and the hypotenuse based on this angle up here. Then I'm going to find all of those legs and hypotenuse again when I'm looking at this angle down here. Alright, so most of you guys have heard SOHCAHTOA. We are actually just going to write that out right here. I'll just write it right here. So, that's how I'm going to write it. TOA. So these giant letters that I wrote represent sine, cosine, tangent. The O's represent opposite sides. The H's represent hypotenuse. The A represents adjacent side. So the good news about your right triangle, you know the hypotenuse never moves. So the hypotenuse is always across from the right angle. And then opposite and adjacent depend on where the angle is that you're looking at. So first of all, opposite is literally in the opposite direction of the angle. So if the angle is up here, then I'm going to go in the opposite direction, and this is considered the opposite leg. And y'all remember, adjacent means right next to, like this classroom wall is adjacent to Dr. Hosman. So adjacent is going to be part of the leg that touches the angle. So this is adjacent. And then over here, the hypotenuse stays the same, but the words change because we're looking at a different angle. So now the opposite's over here, opposite angle, and now the adjacent is at the bottom. So that's just a quick review over adjacent and opposite. Now let's talk about the main three. So the main three are right here. I'm going to write them out in their formal names: sine, cosine, and tangent. So these are their formal names, and you'll see them printed like this on tests and quizzes and directions. But when we go to do our work, they don't look like that. They're going to look like this. We don't write the letter E. Sine theta, cosine theta, and tan theta. And guys, those fractions, those ratios are going to be opposite over hypotenuse. So sine is opposite over hypotenuse. Cosine is adjacent over hypotenuse. And tangent is opposite over adjacent. And most of y'all have seen those before. It might take a few days to get reacclimated, but you have seen that. So in pre-cal, we deal with 6 functions. We deal with these, and then we deal with the reciprocals. What is a reciprocal? Y'all, what's the reciprocal of 3/5? Good. You just flip it upside down. Awesome. All right. So the reciprocals I'll write down here. So it is going to be the reciprocal of sine is called cosecant. That's the formal word. We use the letters CSC, and it is going to have the hypotenuse on top. It's hypotenuse over opposite. And then we also have a reciprocal for cosine. 1/, cosine is meaning the reciprocal. And that's called secant. And that abbreviation is SEC. And that's going to be the hypotenuse over the adjacent. The last one is the only one that really makes sense in terms of the way it's worded. The reciprocal of tangent is cotangent. And that's COT, and that's going to be adjacent over hypotenuse. And these are called your reciprocal trig functions.
Is it not adjacent over opposite?
Oh, thank you so much. It is adjacent over opposite. Yes, it is. Thank you so much. Yes. Yeah, guys, I'm sorry. Make sure you have opposite in the denominator for that. Thank you. All right, so you got your main 3. You got your reciprocals. And then we need to talk about tangent and cotangent. Because tangent and cotangent have a special place for us in pre-cal because it has the extra function. So look, guys, up here, I am going to pause this for a moment. These are going to be your quotient ratios. And remember, tangent theta is really sine theta divided by cosine theta. Cotangent theta is going to be cosine theta divided by sine theta. Now to remember the reciprocal names. So we're going to find sine in a moment, and I'm even going to draw a fraction bar there. And then we're going to find the reciprocal. The reciprocal of sine always starts with the other letter. So if this starts with an S, then the reciprocal starts with a C, and it's cosecant. So cosecant is always going to be the reciprocal for sine. Down here, this is cosine theta. So cosine starts with the letter C. So the reciprocal starts with the other letter. The reciprocal starts with the letter S. Do y'all remember what the name of that is? Secant. And it's SEC. And tangent's the only one that makes sense. So tangent is cotangent, and remember that's COT. And guys, we're just going to write those fractions. That's it. So remember, sine and cosine, a big deal. Sine and cosine always have hypotenuse on the bottom. Sine and cosine always have hypotenuse on the bottom. So before I even start, I know both of these are going to be 17. Very important. All right, remember sine is opposite. So theta is right here. So what's the numerator? Right here. It is 8. Good job. Opposite. Cosine is adjacent, so that's 15. And then tangent is sine divided by cosine. So tangent's going to be 8 over 15. And then guys, just flip those upside down. So cosecant is going to be 17 over 8. Secant is going to be 17 over 15. Tangent is going to be 15 over 8.